When you hear that a car company is allegedly making a loss from a car, but you know the facts that it uses components from far more expensive vehicles in the range, you suddenly think maybe this could be the best product that they've ever made, especially if you like simple things. Manual gearboxes, naturally aspirated big engines, and visceral engagement. Well, that's maybe what we've got here. The Porsche Cayman GT4 4-litre. And today I'm going to review this car, have a good look round it and take it for a long road drive. I'm Jonny Smith. Welcome to the Late Break Show. Let's talk about the ranking of Caymans, shall we? You've got the Cayman, and then you've got the Cayman T, and then you've got the Cayman S, and then you've got the Cayman GTS, which has this engine, the 4-litre, but slightly detuned by about 20 horsepower. And then you have this, the Cayman GT4. This was the top ranking car until 4 o'clock this morning. And then Porsche in LA released the GT4 RS. I'll talk a little bit more about that, but obviously that is the hardcore version of the hardcore version, and that's where it all starts to get slightly confusing. But basically that is the race car that's road legal. This is the sort of like semi-race car that's a bit more pliable on the road, and the GTS version of this is the more road focused car. Are you following this? No, me neither. I appreciate this car hasn't come out last week, but on the Late Break Show I like to feature piston cars that are interesting, that are significant, that grab you somehow. And the thing about the Cayman GT4 is it's this wonderful recipe of natural aspiration, quite a big displacement for the car, I think, 4-litre. The possibility of a 3-pedal setup, you know, manual, and a chassis which is probably, I don't know, I mean, I've driven this car for the last couple of hours to start filming today, and it just instantly gels with you. You settle into it, the steering feels just so precise, a little bit more weight than a lot of modern cars. The rim of the steering wheel, just the attention to detail, this little natty short gear lever, the 6-speed box is just... And the fact that below 4,500 RPM really, it feels like most 6-cylinder Caymans, which is great, don't get me wrong. But then suddenly there's another energy to it. 414 brake horsepower, 420 PS. So it's got 20 more horses than the GTS model. Same engine. This is the thing, these widths of roads are the roads that are the most fun in this country. They're the roads that driving enthusiasts try and sniff out. I feel that the 911 in its current form has got too big and feels a little bit unwieldy in this environment. Now, it's still a fabulous car and it still does a number of things brilliantly well, but in a world where cars are growing physically, I'm not sure whether it works as well anymore. I'm not sure it sits on the road as comfortably anymore. Maybe that is why maybe why I'm attracted to this more than ever. It's that and the price tag. Do I want a base model new 911, or do I want the best of Caymans? I want the best of the Caymans. I happen to think that lower end Caymans with the flat 4 engines are a bit like Mustangs with the 4-cylinder engine. It's actually a lot more powerful an engine than you think, 300 horsepower from a flat 4. However, the sound is a bit Subaru, and unless you're deaf, you're left thinking a little bit, is this underwhelming? I think it probably is. So I can't help but think that if you're going to get a low-end Cayman, something like an Alpine A1110 is a better, more exclusive bet. This car's a different proposition. How does it look different to a Cayman? There's a couple of different things. You can't see them immediately on this car because it's black. Okay, aerodynamics on the GT4 is one of the main parts of this package. The front end here, you've got this different bumper with a huge air scoop down here, or an air duct. That's not there on a regular Cayman. These are much bigger, these intakes here with the mesh. Okay, here's a fact for you, because this diffuser here adds 30% of downforce alone. At 189 miles an hour, which is its terminal speed, the GT4 generates 122 kilos of downforce. And I think that's remarkable given how restrained its aero is compared to other GT and RS cars. So quicker around the Nürburgring than the previous GT4, which was a 3.8 litre and manual only. As fast around the Nürburgring as the 997 GT3 4 litre, which is 10 years old now. Quicker than the the Carrera GT V10. You can drive it around and short shift a GT4. It's really pliable. It's very satisfying, that short little gear lever. It's really precise. It's one of the most satisfying gear shifts, without a doubt. It doesn't even matter if you're not on it, you're just cruising like this. But the gear ratios of the GT4, the first and second gear are incredibly long, like surprisingly long, to the point where you can do 85 miles an hour in second. So I can shift down to second now, and it will just keep catapulting. So the fact that this GT4 laps the Nürburgring in the same time as the 997 GT3 4 litre came out 10 years ago, 500 horsepower car, is remarkable. I mean, that car was a legend almost instantly, and it's probably worth £500,000 by lunchtime today. And here's the thing with the GT4 engine, that 4 litre, which was, as I said, based around the current 992 3 litre block, bored out, and obviously not twin turbo like the 911 is, because all 911s pretty much are now turbo. But it's when you go above 4,500 that it really starts to come alive. That, I mean, seriously. Normally aspirated, remember all 911s are turbos now, and all lower ranking Caymans are turbos, pretty much. It's a rare breed. It's probably going to become extinct at some point soon, and this is the kind of car which makes you feel special to drive. This is the kind of engine that it's worth burning fuel for. So at the back here, you can see this wing. Now, in a world of 992 911s, where the RS I think looks too much, there's too many gills and winglets and it's a bit OTT. This is about as hardcore a wing as I'd want. The RS, which came out 3 hours ago, has more of a swan neck, like the RS 911. I don't know if I like that. This seems to follow the curves of the car, and it just seems to be about as kind of wingy as I'd want a 911 or a Cayman. I like it, and it suits this ducktail that sits beneath it. It is functional, of course, so it's not just wanky. What do you think? I'm starting to think that the 992, the current 911, has almost become a bit too big and almost a bit too bloated. I don't know whether I'm just gravitating more towards this because this is more of a pure flat six experience. Or maybe it's just the price point. Just like at the front, real functioning diffusers. You've got a flat floor under the car, and you can see when you're low down, you'll see the shape of this really quite aggressive diffuser. Exhaust system, twin track sports system with 2 tailpipes finished in black. They're stainless, but they're finished in sort of a smoked black finish. Now, this car is ever so slightly heavier than the previous GT4, only by about, I think, 30 kilos. And it's mostly down to the exhaust system with the catalytic converters in there and onboard diagnostics for monitoring emissions. So to get it through emissions, it has to have a more complicated exhaust, which uses more materials, and that's where the weight is. It's around here. I can't actually see the exhaust. Oh yeah, there they are. But that diffuser is incredible. I've got the active exhaust resonant valves here, so that's going to make the exhaust a little bit more fruity. I know it's not specific to the Cayman, and neither is the electric handbrake. I don't like the electric handbrake down there. I think it's awful. If this GT4 had a manual wand, it would almost be the best. Now you've got auto blip. One of the few buttons down on the console here, just behind the gear shift, is auto blip. I'm normally a bit skeptical about these. I think the first time I experienced one was in a Nissan 350Z. So it's on the downshift, it'll obviously blip the throttle to match the revs with the gearbox better. So if there you go. So I'm going to go from third into second. That's really good. That's really good. Now you've got a couple of stability options. It's got the Porsche stability management, PA, SM. I mean, the first thing I noticed when I got in this thing is the directness of the steering. You really are. You just feel like you're completely engaged. You're locked in like a kind of missile lock to where you want to go. Every input is kind of processed. It's very, very satisfying. It's actually quite hard to describe. Being a Cayman, it's rear-wheel drive only. A lot of the rear suspension area has also been kind of pinched from the GT3, which is no bad thing. Hence this being possibly a loss leader for Porsche. You've got inverted dampers at the back, sort of motorsporty dampers, but the control arms and the subframes, I believe, are from a GT3. The front end has pretty much been nicked suspension-wise from a 991 GT3. Now, I was amazed at this, because this is why this car, almost by Porsche's admission, is a bit of a loss leader. The front axle's pinched, yeah, from the GT3. It's got adjustable anti-roll bars. It's ball jointed mountings. It's the real deal. This has got more adjustment than the GTS car. You don't have to adjust any of it. You can leave it all where it is, but you can adjust the toe in, the camber, etc., because it is race focused. Wheels, 20-inch forged wheels. These are specific to the GT4. Obviously, you've got GT4 centre cap. They're not centre lock like the RS, which has come out about 3 hours ago. They're centre locks. These aren't. So yeah, satin platinum finish, according to Porsche. 245/35 20s at the front, 295/30 20s rubber at the rear. They're basically cut slicks. Brakes, yeah, they're borrowed from the 991 GT3. They're steel brakes, 6-pot calipers at the front, 4-pot calipers at the back, 380mm, cross-drilled, internally vented. You can order it for $5,500 with the carbon ceramics. I really don't think you need to. This is a lighter car than the 911. It would be interesting to see what this car would be like with slightly smaller wheels, 19s say. But I have to say, it rides really well. Just wonderful. And actually, brakes. These 380mm steel cross-drilled brakes, again borrowed from a 911. They feel so good. The pedal feel is right. Pedal feel is quite short, but they bite brilliantly. I don't know whether I would want the £5 carbon ceramics. I don't feel that it needs it. On a day like today, on a road like this, I just feel like this is it for a driving enthusiast. A manual car that's a pleasure to do knee work with, you know. It does it well. When you look at it from the side profile, I think it sits really nice. This is 30mm lower than the standard Cayman. The GTS is 20mm lower, but of course you can rise this up a bit and adjust it more because of the suspension setup. This is a larger scoop for the GT4 to force more air into the engine, which is under there, which you can't really get to and look at, which is a bit of a shame. But all you need to know is that it says GT4 on it. The air goes into here, somewhere in here. I'll pop the boot. It's probably got my coat and my bag in. Oh, look, it has. So the engine's there. You've got luggage in here. You know what? This is the thing. I know this is not specific to the GT4 luggage area, because you could put stuff in there with a luggage net. You've got tie downs. And then at the front there, you've got 150 litres of space, which is really useful, incredibly deep. I'll show you in a minute. So although this is like a really, really driver-focused, healthy track weapon, you can actually put stuff in it and go away. You really can. That's what makes Porsches so damn good. And that's why motoring journalists like me can't help but like them, because they're so good at a lot of things. I know nearly all Porsches are practical. I mean, the 911 has long been a practical sports car, but the Cayman is just so good. You've got two boots. This front boot here, 150 litres. Look, I'm sitting in it. I know it's creepy, a bloke in the middle of nowhere sitting reading in the front boot of his sports car, but this is so comfortable. I'm not being funny, it's really comfortable. Look. It's just bizarre. You're spending £75,000, which, don't get me wrong, is a lot of money in the real world, a lot of money. And you're getting lots of GT3. You're getting lots, and one of the most attractive features of the GT3 is the suspension and the steering feel. And the front end is basically GT3. So 4,500 right up to 8 is where this engine is happiest. You can play with the Cayman GT4 at all speeds, in all environments, and you can feel it, you can understand it. It's got your back. Yeah, you can turn it all off. Of course you can. As someone that feels like they've cruelly missed the boat on 911 prices, GT 911 prices, I come in here and I think, oh, I don't have 911 FOMO anymore. Inside the GT4, it's wonderful because it's quite simple by today's standards. Look, the steering wheel's got absolutely no buttons on it. How refreshing is that? Wonderful. The usual 3 dials with the rev counter in the middle. That's been seen before. This one's got the chrono pack, the fancy clock up there. This is the thing that interests me. Alcantara, small GT4 badge. The gear lever is actually shorter than before, 6-speed, and dual mass flywheel. The controls are so well spaced, and the center console's not really high like it is in a sort of Panamera. I find it all a bit too high and intrusive. And you've got some weird cubby holes behind, which are so deep. It's like a well with a little blind on it. I'll show you, it's freaky. But sitting in here, getting right down in the little bucket seats, I know you can order carbon. And what I would say to you in this review is, you can get so carried away with Porsche options, and then suddenly the car's price doubles. I feel like the joy is almost not doing that, just keeping it as pure as you can. I would buy a car like this GT4, and I would really restrain myself on not ordering any extras. I know I'm in the minority. And I also know that it's a bit ironic that in a car that's about that much under 1,500 kilos, and you still have a sort of rucksack strap for the door pull, which is harking back to the old kind of RS cars I know. There's a couple of buttons here, not many, but they're quite important. You've got this, the adaptive damping, the PASM system, the Porsche Adaptive Suspension Management. You've got active exhaust here, and then you've got these two. Electronic stability control off, or electric stability control and traction control off. In other words, I'm not helping you. You're on your own now, mate. And that's about it. Physical buttons here, a nice amount, not many. And practical cup holders that aren't on display. I know this is not a GT4 specific feature, but I like cup holders when you want them, but I want them to be away when I don't want them. Classy. Alcantara, classy. One of man's best inventions, I would say, textile wise. This is classed as a basic car now, and it really isn't basic. I would like it with air conditioning, delete, and possibly no nav, and just a dock for my phone. You can't have all of that so much anymore. Minimum requirements, the bar has been raised, and it's all our fault. There you go, there's a Tesla Model 3. Absolutely kill this car off the line, 0 to 62. Would. This is 4.5 seconds to 60. And I know that the PDK car is quicker to 62, even though the manual one is 1 mile an hour quicker top speed. I'll put lots of stats on the screen, but they're all stats, they're all numbers. How does it feel in the seat of your pants? You know? How do your testicles feel when you drive it? Well, I'll tell you. Mine enjoy this car, and that's because Porsche is the master of progress, evolution, not revolution. And it just keeps chipping away at what was a pretty good thing in the first place. And it makes a phenomenal difference. In a world where increasingly engines are going to be outlawed, and in a world where I, on this show, really only analyse and review piston cars that are interesting, and being a Porsche enthusiast, I think I might have met peak piston Porsche. It's not a 911, which is a surprise to me. I thought peak Porsche piston would be 911, but alas, I feel like this is the greatest combination of attainability price-wise. You don't get caught up in the collectability element of all the RSs. And actually it does everything really, really well. It's perhaps the sharpest, most enjoyable thing. It's way beyond the collection of nuts and bolts that it represents. I absolutely love it. It's not too extreme to look at. It's so satisfying. It's got bags of luggage space. It's just so damn good. And in a world where 3-pedal, naturally aspirated cars are going to become extinct, it could be the best thing that Porsche have ever made. Anyway, thanks ever so much for watching this new review on the Late Break Show. These are supported by Continental Tyres. What do you think of the Cayman GT4? Do you think the RS is going to be the one to go for at 110 grand? Do I? I think I'd get so much satisfaction from owning that. That's a car I can aspire to and have a chance of really owning.